Welcome back, everyone, to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Selly. He's Gordon Mack. Thanks for tuning in live on YouTube, or if you're listening archived, appreciate you being with us today. Gordon, Millrose recap show. How you doing?
Doing good. Not only Millrose recap show, but a great football day. I know that we're a track podcast, but there's some great football on Sunday. Excited for Chiefs. Excited for Bengals versus Rams. It's the matchup I wanted. That's the thing. When your team is not in the playoffs anymore and it's conference championship weekend, you always just want the matchup to be what you want. And every year,
Mm.
the Patriots make it, or some team I don't like on the NFC makes it. But this year, the teams I wanted in made it. You got Cincinnati Bengals. Gotta love Joe Burrow. And you got Matthew Stafford trying to win a Super Bowl after leaving Detroit. So I am happy. Back to the
Mm.
track.
Not the matchup I wanted, but we'll keep it track specific now. Also, should mention this FloTrack podcast is brought to you by Hoka. Hoka's just introduced the most advanced spike shoe yet, the Cielo X. These spikes are powered by the propulsion of carbon. Two varieties, the Cielo MD for mid-distance performance and the Cielo LD made for long distance. I got the long distance ones here. If you're watching on the pod in the orange, Gordon is showing off the MDs there for everybody watching at home. Got that carbon technology, Gordon.
That's right. Everyone got that carbon plate. Hoka's got that carbon plate. This is what you use to run fast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure yet if I'm going to be able to use this spike for my dunking because I'm not sure if it works too well on
Yes.
asphalt. But if Hoka wants to come out with a third type of spike, one for
The
custom just
dunk.
for the FloTrack podcast dunk attempt, we can figure that out in our sponsorship deal. But no, Hoka, great spikes coming out. They're new. We're excited.
Yeah.
I got the mid distance one. You got the long distance one. That's all you need.
Yeah. So get
I like the
yours
colors.
at Hoka. Hoka.com is the website. Hoka.com. Hoka faster forward. Again, the Cielo MD and the Cielo LD are the two models that we have on the pod today. As we mentioned, we're going to talk Millrose. Today, we'll get more into the college side of things on Wednesday. Stay locked on the FloTrack YouTube page, by the way. A bunch of stuff coming out this week, as always. We have the rankings. We have the race breakdowns. Later on today, I will release this week's edition of This Week in Track, the fourth episode, where, Gordon, I was able to score my first interview. It wasn't a traditional interview, but a lot of people were talking about that shot put competition where they thought Ryan Krauser had the record, the world record, that is. Turns out mismeasurement by the laser. I was actually in a This Week in Track exclusive able to score an interview with the laser from the Millrose games. So you guys
With
are going
the
to have to
laser?
tune in and listen.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All
I,
right. All
I
right.
talked to the laser. You're going to have to tune in to see what, because everybody's ragging on the laser. I wanted to get the laser side of things because
Yeah.
it's not always as it seems. So check that out. Also, we have a whole bunch of interviews from Millrose, just a ton of them. And the ones on YouTube have beautiful thumbnails that you're looking at now. So go click on them.
Yeah. So we have a lot of interviews. Not all of them are up on the YouTube channel. Also, some are just on FloTrack.com. Check them all out. And if you live in, I believe, Australia, you can watch the
Mm-hmm.
Millrose replay in full. So check that out as well.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into the results. There's a lot to sort through. Again, you could pick any of 4 or 5 events as the lead story. We'll start first, though, with the men's 60. Christian Coleman, his first major race, back after that suspension that cost him the Olympics, wins it 6.49 over Trayvon Bromell, who ran 650. Ronnie Baker up for third, and then Noah Lyles fourth. Coleman graded himself, gave him an A-, said felt a little bit of rust coming back, difficult to simulate having someone right on your shoulder in practice, but he looked pretty sharp. This was not a surprise to me. I thought he would come out and get the victory. I was thinking 6'4" mid would be in play, but if you're Coleman, I think you have to be really happy with getting a win and getting a time under 650.
Yeah, I mean, he grades himself an A minus, but this is an A for where you're at in your season, for where you're at in your career, where you're at with this whole, coming off suspension. You
Mhm.
really can't ask for a better situation here. Like, he's not supposed to go out there and run 6'3", right? Or even low 640s. And he got
Yeah.
out there and he got a win over arguably, you know, a group of the best sprinters in the world. It's not like he went out there and won a rinky dinky, you know, D3 flat track meet or whatever. He
Yeah.
beat Trayvon Bromell. He beat Noah Lyles. He beat Ronnie Baker. And got to take nothing but A out of this. And I think even Bromell, who got second, I think that's an A.
Mhm.
I think him coming up just point oh 0.01 short. He was closing in on him. There was a little.
Mhm.
Wait, was he closing in on him or? Yeah, he closed in on him late. So again, most people aren't going to be running the 60 when it comes to Eugene 2022 outdoors. They're going to be running the 100.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
Noah Lyles looked kind of good. He closed. He actually had the biggest close. In his final 10 or 20 meters, he was the fastest. So that
Mhm.
actually makes sense because Noah Lyles is more of a 200 guy. I don't think it says Noah Lyles is going to win the 100, but, you know, I think it shows that Lyles is fit. I mean, I bet you, I mean, what do you think even Usain Bolt would have ran the 60 in? Did Usain Bolt even ever run the 60?
I don't think he ever did indoors.
Yeah.
Might have
Like, I
run more
feel like
outdoors.
if he ever ran the 60, he'd probably be running what Noah Lyles is running, right? Low 660s, maybe a 6'5" here and there. But like 60 meters is just not enough time for someone like Noah Lyles to show his true ability. It is enough time
Mhm.
though for Bromell and Coleman. And I think all around, I think everyone can kind of come away from that race being like, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted. It's a weird
Yeah.
situation where first through fourth are all kind of like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I never understood the perspective that it would take Coleman a bunch of races to get going just because this is a new season and everybody else is taking time to get going. He's run 6'3" before, so obviously he's off of that, but this is a debut. So I don't think we are with Christian Coleman. I don't think we're in a vastly different place than we were 2 years ago. Basically, it's the same. It's the same Christian Coleman. There's a couple tweaks here and there where he can improve, but I think he's he's just going to get sharper as the season goes on. He said he wants to run World Indoors. Bromell said he didn't. I think you're right. Everybody gets a win out of this. I said Lyles, if he gets in the top four, is a success, but that was before Bracy scratched. I still think it's a success watching the race and watching how he closed down. Baker maybe wishes he was a little bit closer in there, but 654 for him is pretty solid. Romel, I think, just said he's going to run a 200 indoors, and then that's it for him. Coleman, as expected, plans on running World Indoors, at least right now. I would assume Baker would as well. Not sure about the rest of the field, though.
Are you surprised that Bromell's not doing it? I mean, he could win World Indoors. He has won
Well, and
World
that
Indoors.
was yeah, and that was in that interview that we have up. That was basically his reason why he's not doing it. He said, I already have it. It's all about outdoors. I don't need another one. Like I've already proven myself indoors. So I guess he's of the mindset that committing a lot to indoors is going to take away from outdoors. I would like to see though more Bromell Coleman. Even Coleman brought up, hey, this is a kind of good rivalry, which is interesting for him to use that word, seeing as how Coleman is the one who's the most recent indoor champion. Coleman is the one who's the most recent outdoor champion, and he owns all the top marks in history in this event. But he was saying like, hey, we got a little rivalry here, which is fun. So it's a shame we're not going to see it again this year in the 60 again. Outdoors, perhaps. We'll see where these two guys are out at. I just think if Coleman's doing this early, this translates to him being in a perfect position by the time we get to outdoors.
Yeah. And, I just, once again, this is a moment where Trayvon Bromell decided not to run the World Indoor Championships is proof that we have a flawed incentive system for
Yeah.
our professional athletes. The fact that one of the
Yeah.
best 60-meter runners in the world, not the best, but one of the best, is like, no,
Hmm.
I'm good. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta figure that
Well,
out.
I hope someone like Baker takes advantage of it. JW in the chat says people don't give Ronnie Baker his credit for being number 3 all time in the 60. Yeah, we talked about that on Friday. It's because that came in that same crazy Coleman season. He's coming in the same era as Coleman, but he's also a lot of that was in the same year as Coleman as well. And now he has the opportunity though. If Bromell doesn't run, I mean, he would have had the opportunity anyway because he could beat any one of these guys to take advantage, get a world indoor berth, and then go there and win the whole thing. I think that's what he's got to do. But yeah, his 2017-2018 season was nuts, and even the 1920s or the 20 season, the before it got canceled there with the 644. I mean, this he's been very, very good for a very long time in the 60. And I think that means we're gonna see him go for it this year indoors along with Coleman. So we'll at least get those two. And maybe I don't know what's up with Bracy. Maybe he comes back and makes it a 3-person race.
Yeah, all around, I thought it was a fun race where
Yeah,
we kind of got what we wanted out of it. Wish we could get
yeah,
more, but hey, that's our sport. Hey, I'm just gonna
yeah.
show up, do a couple invites, and then call it a season.
Well, it was close too. It was a dramatic finish there, and there's a photo of Coleman at the line, and he's almost breaking form, which is weird because you don't really see that from Christian Coleman. But yeah, that first one right there, like that posture you don't normally see from Christian Coleman. So it was a dramatic finish there. I had a feeling after 30 when I watch 60s, I'm really bad because my mind is trained to think it's like 100. So I'm like, oh okay, they got plenty of. Oh, sorry, it's over. That was it. Whoops. Wait, what happened? And then I have to watch it 10 times.
Isn't it crazy that these athletes like flew across the country, went through like an hour
Hmm.
of TSA,
Yeah.
got into a hotel room, got there
Hmm.
early, did this, that, and the other thing, all for just 6.5 seconds of work.
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. All right, let's
Just-
let's go to the next race here. I want to talk about a fun one because you sent me this text on Saturday, and it was a good text. And whenever I get a good text from Gordon, I think it needs to be highlighted on the pod. And it was about Jordy Beam. We're gonna go to the distance races now. It's about Jordy Beamish in the 3K. I want to talk first about Beamish, and then we'll get into the other names in this field. But he wins this 3K in a New Zealand record with a huge last couple laps, actually came from way back to get past Tier and Hawker. Um, Explain the Jordy Beamish viewing experience to me, Gordon.
Yeah, I was like watching Jordy run races is like watching 5 seasons of an HBO drama all in one sitting. There's so many highs and lows. There's so many rope-a-dopes. There's like, oh my God, they killed the main character. Oh my God, now actually it wasn't true. This whole thing. Because there's this moments when you're like, all right, he looks strong, and then he is like responsible for the entire pack falling off the
Mhm.
pacer because everyone is behind him, and he's like, dude, what you doing? You're slowing down, and then all these runners have to pass him, and you're like thinking like, oh, Jordy Beamish, man, he's in over his head. Season 3 not looking good, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden, he's like, no, I'm back in it, but you're like, no, it's a little too late. Sorry, sir, we're done. Season 4, it's over. And then season 5, he comes in crazy, and
yeah,
you're like, all right, wow, he's kicking well. He's going to finish with the top group. But then he goes on the inside and he wins, and he closes in 25 seconds, which is 1 second to 2 seconds better than everyone else who finished in that top group and finished
yeah,
on the inside. And I was just like, dude, this guy, you're watching him and you think he's in, he's out. It's just like, dude, oh, it's entertaining as hell because
yeah.
now he could be being lapped, and you're like, oh well, it's Jordy Beamish, guys. Just wait, he's gonna make that kick. Uh, but this kind of, I mean, he had this similar type of race in a 3K in college. I remember it was
Yep.
either in a 3K or 5K at BU where he was
Mhm.
just fart licking his race. It's crazy. It's like on and off. He literally fart licked that last like 4 laps. He probably, I don't know. It's crazy.
And his victory lap too, because he was going so quick he couldn't even slow down for the victory lap and just blasted around another 200. It looks like someone had him timed at 38 seconds. He always looks like he's one stride 1 second away from being out of it, and then he rallies. And
Yeah.
then 200 meters later or 50 meters later, he's on the brink of elimination again, and then he rallies. And then somehow he ends up being in decent position with 200 to go. And then your eyes are just naturally drawn to him. He's in fifth because he's behind Tier Hawker, Grijalva, and Mance. And you're like, okay, maybe he can do something with this. And then he starts going, and then it's just like a freight train. And then with 100 to go, then you're betting on him. But you're right. The 4, 5, 6 laps previous to that, you're just thinking, okay, he's going to get dropped. Oh, he's barely in the shot. Is he in the screen? Okay, hold on. Where is he? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, he's in seventh. Okay, he's back on. All right, now he's off again. You're right. Being his coach would be tough. A lot of respect to Dathan Ritzenheim because he's probably they
A
should have
heart
tracked his
attack to
heart rate
watch.
throughout the race. Ritz's heart rate would have been all over the place watching Beamish.
Yeah, I mean, it literally looks like he's doing a fart lick. I'm not even kidding. It's just like he
Or he
is.
forgets. He's like,
Yeah,
"Oh wait,
maybe.
I gotta. Oh, they left. They gotta
Oh
go."
yeah, but like you think like because when he falls off, it looks like he is struggling to hold on, and it's like I don't
Yeah.
have it today. Like I can't do it.
Mhm.
They're making a move. I'm just my
Yeah.
legs are like his legs look heavy. It looks like
Yeah.
he's got like heavy legs, and then you're like, all right, and then all of a sudden it's like this guy can like he has like a stride like Usain Bolt where every one stride is like everyone else's two strides, and you're like, what's
Yeah.
going on? And he just looks like he's just like moonwalking around the track. And is it like him like being strategic with his energy? Like, is he purposely doing this?
I don't
And
know.
where he's like,
I
all
don't
right,
know
I'm
because
gonna go off because then I can add that extra layer of energy to my final lap, which will be more valuable. I don't. It's crazy.
I don't know because well, I'm looking at just like every 200 split here, and he did stay pretty consistent. There was a 32 about 1 mile in where everybody else was running 31s, but yeah, he was just sort of running his own
Travis,
race.
click on the 200. Click on the 200
I
meter
don't think he
splits in the upper left corner.
I'll read it. I'll read it. 30, 31, 31, 31, 30.8, 31, 31, 6, 32, 2, 31, 6, 31, 6, 31, 4, 30.9, 30.6, 28.0, and then 25.7 for the last 200. So he was consistent. I think it's a lot of
Yeah,
times he's just not being overly reactionary to the moves that are being made in the race. I think is what's happening. So I think it is a roller coaster of emotions, but it's a smart race plan being disguised as this big roller coaster. So, I mean, if you're talking about energy conservation, I think that works, especially on indoors, because you're not making a whole bunch of weird moves and running a whole bunch of extra distance. And that helps when you get down to that final quarter. And that's why you're able to go 28 and then 25 the last 2 laps.
yeah. Looking at this now, the competitors made it look like he was turning it on and off when really the
They were speeding
competitors
up.
were speeding up too much and then dying. So that Jordy Beamish, man,
Yeah.
he was the smartest man in the room that day. That's what he was.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about that last 50, right? Because if Tier's a half step over, then this doesn't happen. And then we're talking about Tier winning it over Hawker. Now, I rewatched this a bunch of times, and Beamish mentioned, hey, Tier and Hawker were preoccupied with each other, which you don't blame them because they're coming off the last curve and they're looking at each other. Um, and especially Hawker was already to the outside, so it's not like Hawker could have moved back in. Tier was on the line coming off the curve, so it's not as if he was out in two giving Beamish a wide area to pass, but he also, you can see from the photo, wasn't dead set in the middle of that lane, making Beamish go wide. What'd you think about Tier's tactical decisions in the last 100?
I mean, it's you can't put it on tier to like hug the rail on that home stretch. You're not really thinking about Jordy Beamish coming out of nowhere. Like he probably didn't even know he was near him, right?
He took
But
a
he's
look,
thinking,
but it was too late.
yeah,
He looks
I
in, but
just,
it's too late.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just got to beat Hawker and I win. That basically was the mindset. And
Yeah.
he was almost right. I mean, the people typically don't close in 25 seconds the way Beamish did. So you can't blame Tier for thinking he had the win. There's actually a finish line shot. Cooper Tier does extend his arms out like he won. It's kind of funny because the pass happened such late that Cooper's brain doesn't have enough time to calibrate that
Yeah.
this isn't, you're not winning. And like, so
Yeah.
there is a shot where they're both putting their arms out as if they both won. But Cooper Tier, it's fine, man. This loss isn't that big of a like. It's not that embarrassing. You still ran an incredible fast, a good time, good PR,
Yeah.
7:39. You gotta take it. It's okay. First pro race. You're young. Uh,
Yeah.
this is Beamish had
Mid
a better, more fun, unique race.
and outkicked Hawker too, which I said, hey,
Exactly.
I'm gonna keep picking Hawker in these types of races until somebody can prove that they can outkick him. And two guys did it here, Beamish and Tier. Um, it's funny because Tier now has been involved in two races where the position in relative to lane one has mattered. The Olympic trials where he stayed in lane one, and then the party moved out to 3 and 4 when Chalimo and the Bowerman Track Club had a little meeting out there. And then this one where, again, once I watched it, I said, well, yeah, he could have moved a little bit, half stride in, but he's still on the line. And you look at most people finishing indoor races, they're not hugging the rail because you're just going too fast off that last curve to stay that tight inside. And Hawker was to his outside. And of course, you're going to consider Hawker given his credentials. Um, Hawker said afterwards they're going for the American record, or he's going for the American record in the mile. What do you think about that?
Where? At New Balance Grand Prix?
He just said later this season. I'm not sure. Let me look at the mile. So men's indoor mile, Legat 3:49.89. I mean, they've run 3:50. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised that that's a goal.
Yeah, maybe they'll do it at BU. That we found this
Mm-hmm.
fast track. That's where you do it. So we go to run American records. Would
Yeah,
you? Here's my question. We had a great
yeah.
like in the context of the race we're watching. Beamish was like, that was like, oh damn, and also Cooper and Tier. I mean, Cooper and Hawker were
Yeah.
or no, Cooper and Cole. Their first names on it. Were both Cooper and Tier, Cooper Hawker. Okay, Cooper and Cole. No one calls them Cooper and Cole. Cooper and Toll. All right, what am I doing? Back to what I'm
That's
saying.
going to be the name of their
And
microbrewery in Oregon. Is going to be called
yes,
Cooper and Cole.
Cooper and Cole. It was a great like performance by these three. They're all running 7:39.
Yeah.
Whoever wins, it's like whatever. It's fine. But like a week ago or earlier that weekend, we had a 7:26 3K, right?
Yeah.
13 full
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
Do you think any of these guys have an ability to be in it at the World Indoor Championship level? Like, it's one thing to do it against fellow U.S. based training partners, competitors, but then you
Yeah.
look in Germany and we had someone just solo a 7:26. So
Yeah.
first of all, what do you think? So what do you think of the 7:26, and then what do you think about how it connects to what these guys did at Millrose?
Well, Aragawi's an up and comer, and he's someone to watch for sure. And that's the number 5 time all time. And when you watch that end of the race, he didn't have a ton of help. It goes out in 1600 under 4 minutes. He really went for it. People are taking shots at this record, this world record in the 3K, which is crazy because it seems like it's one of those that was a bit too far out there. But you turn your question around is, are people like Aragawi going to run like that at World Indoors? Are they going to go out and run 30-second, sub 30-second, 200 pace by themselves out there? Perhaps they will, but I think it's going to bunch up a little bit. They're going to take their foot off the gas a little bit, and then that opens things up for the caliber of runner that we saw at Millrose. But I wasn't surprised by Aragawi's time because last year we saw fast indoor 3K performances, people taking a shot at that record. which I thought was going to be a little bit too far out there, but apparently it's not. So number 5 all time. I think I think it's open season on that record, and it could be a situation where Aragawi, his priority this year is just running the record, like racing for the record, and it's not even world indoors. So they have to factor that in too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that 25-second close is world class, and you wonder, is Beamish going to be able
Yeah,
to be near that area, or like, are we going to have a 7:39 type race at World Indoors, or is Jakob Ingebrigtsen going to make it a
yeah,
7
yeah,
like 32 race, and then all of a sudden running 25 seconds is going to be
yeah.
kind of hard to do.
100%, 100%. I agree. I mean, it's gonna be faster than I think we could count on an outdoor race because indoor races at championships people put position at a premium, so then they go and they're more eager to get out in front and spread things out a little bit. But I don't think they're going to be going 7:30, sub 7:30 at the World Indoor Championships with rounds and everything. I don't
Yeah.
Maybe though if you and your fellow countrymen countrywoman qualify, then you are going to want to push the pace. We haven't had a World Indoors in 4 years since the super shoe thing started. So that could be part of it too. We just saw people push it way earlier last couple of years. Tom mentioned on the chat, Windy City Invite is where they're doing the mile record attempt in Chicago.
Mm. The Wisconsin meet. That's in 2 weeks.
Let's go. Let's go to the women's mile. Eleanor Purrier, St. Pierre, 4:19:30. I said on my edition of This Week in Track this morning, Gordon, she's far and away the best women's miler in the United States. Like it's the gap is clear. Josette Norris ran a great race there, 4:20 for her. Klosterhalfen of Germany and Hull of Australia, 3 and 4. But when you add up just Purrier's body of work over the last couple of years, it's clear she's the best miler in the United States and ran like it in this race. Just total show of confidence. Did you ever think, like once she went to the lead, that she would lose this race?
No, 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 not at all. I mean, I think like when you looked at the field looked like El Purier and everyone else. Like they didn't. There was no Safan Hassan in this field. There's no Laura
Mhm.
Muir. There was no Shelby Houlihan pre-ban. So like
Mhm.
it kind of just looked like it was her race to lose. And if she was going to be fit and healthy, and you could kind of
Yeah,
figure that out mid race, you're like, all right, Elle's going to win this race.
and she did, and the pace went out quick, and they laid off the rabbit a little bit. So Purrier essentially served as the rabbit for the entire field. She got to dictate the terms for everybody, and you look at the splits, it was just a 64-9, 64-7, 65-8, and then closes in 63-7. It was a clinical the way she did this. Very meticulous and is already in really good shape. Clearly good run by Norris though for third or for second. I mean, 4:20.81. We talked about debated 5K versus 15 last week. What did you said 15, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Um,
she beat the two qualifiers that made the Olympics, and Heather McLean and Corey McGee. Now again, other people beat them too, but like
yeah.
who else out there is a miler, that female miler that wasn't in this race, that I mean, Sinclair Johnson maybe. Uh it's kind of hard to find
Mhm.
other people. I mean, her getting second in this race is, I think, really good proof that like she has a strong chance to finish top three. Because you look across
Yeah.
at the women's 3K, you saw Alicia Monson run 7:31 and Wendy
Yeah.
Claudia run 33, and the Bowerman women are out there. Like, I feel like Josette Norris, this mile performance is a
Yeah.
very big indicator that you got to do the 1500.
What were your thoughts when a Thing Mo was right there at the 1200 mark, went through at 3:16, was in fifth?
Well, my thoughts were, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen, right? Because I was like, she's going to go out, she's going to be like, she's going to go along the train, she's going to get pulled along,
Yeah.
and then we'll see what happens, right? And
Mhm.
clearly she can handle 1,200 meters of it. But then,
Mhm.
she runs the 8 for a reason, right? That's I guess we were thinking all weekend, are we going to see the craziest athlete we've ever seen in our lifetime and come out there and be like, yeah, I can run 4:19 as well. Um,
Yeah,
Luckily, that moment is still on hold, and we'll have to wait maybe another year or two till we see a Thing Mo add an extra quarter mile to her
yeah.
1200 to stay with the top dogs.
I think she should get immense credit for even doing this race. The only thing that I'm bummed at, like, there was no shame in not winning this race, but she ran this race to win this race because she was putting herself in a position to win. Because there was that second group, Gordon, that broke off. She could have run with that second group and finished, low 430s, but she put herself in a position to win. The only thing that bums me out is I just wanted to see a time. Like, I wanted to finish, even if it wasn't her best race, just so we could have a good gauge of where she's at in the mile. And by not finishing, we don't get that. I understand it. Obviously, she's not the only person who's dropped out of a race, but when you go through 316, that's some pretty quality running. I mean, if she goes through 320, 321, maybe she's able to hang with that group and then break for 430, which would be a big accomplishment. But she ran this race like she wanted to win this race, which I give her a lot of credit for. And she entered a race that was not easy, not going to be an easy race out of her preferred distance. So I give her credit for that as well too.
Yeah, she only had to do one more lap. You know, that's all she had to do.
Well,
But
was it one to go or two to go when she dropped out? I didn't see it because she started
no,
drifting
she
back.
she had a split at 1400 meters, so
Oh,
she
okay.
just had
Where was
200
she?
meters to go. She was
Where was she?
so she was in sixth place, but she was clearly falling off, right? Because she ran
Wow.
350.5. So she was right
Yeah.
behind like Sage Herda and Shannon Osika. And she
Still
still
pretty
had
good
like a
though.
3 second, she still had a 3 second lead on Heather McLean with 200 meters to
Yeah.
go. It
Yeah.
makes me feel like she was like dead, maybe. Like she just pushed her body to like, I'm done. Like I can't, my legs aren't
Yeah.
going. I'm not going to go. I would have to run like a 30 second, not 30 second, like a 50 second 200 to get around the track. So,
Yeah. So okay, we have 1400-meter split on her, 350. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a bummer. Again, I wish she could have held on for just one more lap, but I didn't see afterwards if she made any comment about how she was feeling out there. But when you go out there and you're running with Perrier St. Pierre, you're running with one of what the best, we say 10 milers in the world, 15. I mean, it's not very many, and you have
Yeah.
a top group here of a bunch of people in the top 30, 25 in the world in the mile, and you just jump right in. And you try to run with them. That's a bold move from her. Yeah, but just disappointed she wasn't able to. We weren't able to see that finish. All right, what's next, Gordon? You want to do women's 3K, women's eight,
Let's do it.
men's eight, shot put?
We'll do 3K, stay in the distance, and then we'll go out back
I mean,
into other stuff.
Alicia
So
Mons is just really
women's 3K.
good. Alicia
Yeah.
Mons is just really good right now. I mean, it's just impressive what she's doing, and similar race style, I would say, to Perrier St. Pierre, where she just ratcheted down that pace. Now, the field that she was going against wasn't as deep as the women's mile, but she had Kaladi on her back and just ran away from her in the second half of the race. And I don't think she even needed to run that way. I think she's confident enough in her kick. She could have slowed down for a while and then kicked, but she just kept pushing and kept pushing. So I thought just less so than just winning, just the way she won was noteworthy to me.
Yeah, and when you look at the field, like you said, it is not as deep as the women's mile field. Um, there's a lot of notable 5K runners who aren't in this race,
Yeah.
but you run a world lead, meet record, facility record, personal best, 831.
Yeah.
Once you're getting close to that 830 flat mark, that's like like a next step. It's like a next level up for who you are as an athlete. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
times, some women, you know, it's it's about breaking 9 minutes, right? When you're in college, you're like, whoa, I broke 9 minutes in college, and then it's like, all right, to be the top in college, you got to run in the 840s, and then
Hmm.
to make now that bigger jump, another 20-second jump, and run in the low 830s, cracking potentially into the 820s. That's like the final level of like elite women's like 5K running is being an 831 to 825 type runner. And it
Yeah.
looks like she's got that. We know she can handle the 10K, right? Because she qualified in the Olympics in a 10K. Now that she's running these
Yeah.
831s, she's not going to be like, oh, I only can handle the 10K. I don't have that kick. But this shows that she's going to have a kick, and
Yeah.
she may become a potential year in and year out 5K, 10K doubler if she's able to
Yeah.
continue on this streak that she's doing.
Well, and with Kaladi being right there, I know she didn't get the win though, but we got another pretty good race between the two. And I don't think Kaladi's going anywhere either. So I think we could be in for a couple years of these two battling each other in cross, in track races, indoor and out, and also roads as well. Because they're both really versatile. Like, we don't think of Kaladi as a closer, but she puts her in terms of just like a kicker, I should say. But she puts herself in positions. Um, I mean, she just runs the legs off the rest of the field. So your time is your time. Doesn't matter if you ran the last 230 or 38. Like if you get there before everybody else, is all that matters. So I think we could be entering into a cool Monson Kaladi chapter. I mean, the book's already like 200 pages long based on what they did in cross country in college and indoor and outdoor in college. But this could be this. I wasn't expecting a pro edition to be as compelling as it is, and it is.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm excited to see what Alicia Monson does now. Like, she kind of had like her breakout moment right at the trials where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
she made
Yeah.
it top three. But now she's going away from like the cool story to now like, no,
Hmm.
I'm an established person who's not a one hit wonder.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in top three for many, many years,
Yeah.
which is hard to do.
What did you?
Very hard
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. 100%. Women's eight. Ajay Wilson got the win over Natoya Gould. Did not see a high school record, so I got that one. One of many things I got wrong over the weekend in terms of predictions, but Wilson looked as good as always, which she hasn't lost at the Armory in was it 9 years? They said. So there's some absurd stat there. That and like the Willis stat with the 20 years in a row of sub four, just like whoa.
Yeah. I mean, not gonna lie, this race was kind of a little boring. I mean, 201, 3. Once a thing Mo was out of it, it's kind of like it turned into just like, all right, who wants to just take it at the very, and Ajay Wilson with her establishment and her win streak in Millrose is what we got.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if one of the high school kids broke a record. They're in a race to do it, but I guess it just wasn't meant to happen today. But I think it will happen eventually. I think these two women, one of them, if not both, will get close and potentially get it.
Well, and I thought for Wilson after how last season ended, to beat Gould, who's a good, again, top 10 runner in the world. I think that was something that she's going to gain some confidence from. But I hope we see Wilson versus Mo this indoor season. Mo's still obviously the favorite, but
Yeah.
I would hope we would see it this indoor
Yeah,
season
maybe
because I want to
USA's,
see them.
right? USA's?
I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. I don't count on any indoor matchups happening. Whoops, sorry, my mic. I don't count on any indoor matchups happening until I actually like the gun goes off and they're actually running on the track. Um, men's eight, similar vibes. Did you get similar vibes to the women's eight and the men's eight?
Yeah. The when the thing mows out and when Donovan Brazier's not 100% like all in on the 8, it's kind of just
Yeah.
dissipates. This like it's not as interesting. I mean, 146 is like oh, the 800 just isn't that fun indoors if you don't have like superstars up front. because you're
Mhm,
just gonna get 201s, two flats,
mhm.
146s, 145 highs. Like you're not gonna get it's that's the one thing that sucks a lot about the 800 indoors is that it is so night and day different from an outdoor 800 because an outdoor
Right, right.
800 you can get going and you can run low 140s and it's like exciting, but like it is hard to run exciting times in an 800 just because of the way 200-meter track is. It's kind of like a 200. Like when a guy runs a 200, an elite time is like 20.1, which is like
It's not
a shit
that
time.
weird. It's not that
Yeah,
random. An indoor in because a lot of pro 200-meter runners won't even run the indoors.
yeah. What I'm saying
We'll
is
see.
there's yeah. What I'm basically saying there's a lot of difference between an 800 and even a 400 and a 200. 200, 400, and 800. Their indoor
Yep.
times are just not as exciting because you know that it's so much better outdoors. Whereas a 60 that can still be exciting because you can kind of be the same as a 100 outdoors. And then once you get to the mile and up, you're still running similar type times as an outdoor mark. It's that
Mhm.
middle ground of 200, 400, 800, which is kind of like, yeah, we know outdoors fun, more better.
Well, Hopple gets the win, 146.0. Kick past Cerny. I think that's confidence builder for Hopple after last year. Harris looks solid as always in third. Um, 7-8, a little surprising with Hunter and Isaiah Jewett at the back half of the field. But you're right. Brazier wasn't there. Brazier in the quarter. Brazier's first lap, he looked like an 800-meter runner running a 400, which is what's happens when an 800-meter runs a 400. Got going there, said he tried to make a move on the backstretch, which he shouldn't have done, but he acquitted himself fine. 46. I mean, it was nothing. Nothing spectacular. It's not going on his all-time career highlights list for Donovan Brazier, but shows he's healthy. And he said it was good just to race again because he had bad memories of the last time he raced, which was at the Olympic trials when he didn't make the team and was obviously devastated after that race. So he gets out in the track. I'm already coming up with now after one big pro meet with this list of pro races I want to see. And it's just obvious stuff. It's like, all right, I want to see Brazier Hopple now. Because we know Hopple's fit and in shape. We know Brazier's back. Let's put them together and let's see what happens. Wilson and Mo.
I
It's
know
just
it's gonna.
obvious
I
stuff.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Brazier's gonna
You
win.
know what's
That's
gonna
what's gonna
happen?
happen. Yeah, Brazier will
Well,
win.
I mean, but you want to see it still.
I
But
want to see
like,
it
what?
still.
Okay,
Yeah,
hold on. Hold on a second though. Why are you so confident in Brazier? You saw him run a 46 400. Just to play devil's advocate here, you saw him run a 46-second 400.
because I think Brazier's only gonna race Hopple when he knows he can beat him, and we saw that today. I mean, on Saturday, he ran the 400 because he knew he wasn't gonna beat him.
Okay, well,
I I think Brazier is in a situation
eventually he
now where
has
he's
to
like,
race him though. Eventually he has to
well,
race him.
eventually,
So
yeah,
eventually they're
but
gonna.
he,
Yeah.
you know, eventually you got to trade Ben Simmons, but you don't need to worry about it until the trade deadline, right? He doesn't need to
Well,
worry
hold on.
about beating
No,
Hopple until later on in the season. So he's gonna
but
take his time,
you're so confident.
and then
You're so
once,
confident that he would have beat him. You're so confident that he's going to beat him in the future. But you just said yesterday he didn't think he would beat him. That's why he ran the quarter.
yeah,
You're putting a
that's
lot
why
of
I'm
stake in
confident.
the next. When's he going to race? So in the next 4 weeks, you're just like that. They're just training in the next 4 weeks. Is that ideal for Donovan Brazier that he goes from?
Well, we're
I,
not.
I don't think he. I don't know if he would have lost to that field. I think he could have beat that field. My point is we don't know. We have
No, my point is,
so limited data on all these guys, but particularly Brazier.
yeah, like I don't think he's gonna run U.S. indoors if he thinks he's gonna get second to Hopple
He's not.
because he's
He's
just
already
not gonna
said he's
do it.
not going to. Pretty much. I don't think he's
Yeah,
gonna run it.
so
His
yeah,
coach
he
said
knows
he's
his
probably not
body.
gonna do
He
it.
knows what's important, and I think he's gonna take his time. He also recognize he does. I mean, we could have a situation where Brazier just doesn't run ever because he has a bye all the way to World
Doesn't
Champs,
run
right? So
ever.
you could just be
Just
like, I'm
never
never
runs
running
there.
800 until July first
Just
round of the 8.
just shows up in Eugene.
Shows up.
Lives in Portland, so yeah, he never needs to travel. Just hangs out there all the time. Takes the bus down.
You
He's
know, it'd
all
be
good.
fun if
Okay.
like at
Mm,
like world championships, the people who have buys, right? Like Grant Holloway, Christian
Yeah.
Coleman, Donovan Brazier, etc. The little Muhammad. They like get to be like the starter of the race, and they get to hold the finish line tape, something like that. They just get to be a part of it. They get to be like the VIP watcher of that
Hmm.
race. It'll be fun.
All right, let's go to the. I mean, women's 400. Wildland Jonathan's got the win. I was interested in Raven Rogers, obviously, drop it down distance, but she got tripped up, so can't really read anything into her time. Women's 60, Aaliyah Hobbs, Micaiah Briscoe go 1-2. Another good race for Hobbs. And then in third, Shanti Jackson, the high schooler, breaks the high school record in the 60. That was exciting to watch. And then 60 hurdles, uh, Devin Allen, he gets the win over Daniel Roberts. That was an exciting race for 60 hurdle race. And then for the women, Brittany Anderson of Jamaica, 791. She gets the victory. Kenny Harrison was back in fourth. Any of those results stand out to you?
Hobbs looking good in the 60. I'm excited for um eventually where the 60 is going to end up by the end of the indoor
Hmm.
season. As we know, Elaine Thompson Hurrah is going to be incorporating herself into that 60. So I'm just
Yep.
excited, not really about Aaliyah Hobbs specifically, but just like what will the women's 60 look like mid-March? And are we going to be like, whoa, this is a crazy year for the women's 60 the way it was a crazy year for the women's 100 in 2021.
Hmm.
So um, there's we haven't talked about the Wanamaker Mile yet on the men's side.
Did we not get to the Wanamaker Mile? We are now going to the Wanamaker Mile. Excuse me. Yeah, I thought we did. My
No, we did the
apologies.
women, just not the men.
Hoare and Kerr, the two names we talked about, I thought Kerr would be able to get it done. He made that typical Josh Kerr push. It was not enough. And Oliver Hoare runs 350, breaks the Aussie record, and gets the win. Do you think of this more as confirmation of what you already knew about Oliver Hoare, or do you see this as Oliver Hoare entering a new chapter, a new phase, a new level?
Nah, confirmation. There's no new phase entered. And it's confirmation on Kerr. Like Kerr and Hoare were clearly the best of the field, and they showed that and they pulled away. Like there was no surprise here that happened. I also knew it would be quick, right? Because Hoare likes to push the
Yeah.
pace. He's not a sitting kicker. Runs a world lead, gets a big PB. I thought Kerr might be able to hold on a little bit. Kerr did fall apart in that final like 120 meters. Um, I think really the only big surprise of this meet was Colby Alexander, low key being able to hold on with Hoare and Kerr for a majority of that race. Still fell
Hmm.
off near the end, but still runs a
Yeah.
352. That was impressive for me for Colby. But yeah, Hoare 350. I think Kerr on a better day could be up there running 350 as well. But those two guys, I
Yeah.
mean, they're in their prime, and they're going to be eyeing making another 1500-meter final and setting himself up to potentially find a way to medal for Kerr again and for Hoare for the first time.
Your pick for third, Garcia Romo ran really pretty well. Got sixth in a tough field, 357. It is interesting to see how much things break open on an indoor track
Yeah.
because you're so used to everybody jamming in between 3 or 4 seconds, maybe even less than that, and then maybe a two stragglers off the back. But there's just like these gaps that emerge here. You got Hoare, who's like a second and a half up on Kerr right next to Alexander. And there's like another 2.5 seconds to Prekel and Gregoric, and then another 2 seconds to Garcia Romo, and then another second to the next person. And it's just interesting. I mean, I guess it shows a couple things. One, people are not shy about pushing the pace indoors and really going for it and trying to get position. And two, everybody's just at such a different part of their training cycle right now. So you get some people who are really riding a hot hand and others who are just getting into it right now. Um,
So I have
you know,
three
you look
questions
at
for
like,
you
okay,
for this race. Can I hit
yeah,
you with the three questions? First
yeah,
question. They're all kind of similar. What are your thoughts on Hobbs Kessler only running 359?
only, only. Why are we doing only?
I mean, the guy is probably looking for this year. He wants to make a world team this year, right? And 359 is running like the 35th fastest time in the NCAA. You know what I mean?
Well,
So
he beat some guys though. He beat some guys.
He
I'm
beat
not
some
worried
guys.
about
We'll
Hobbs
we'll
Kessler.
get to. You're not worried? That's what I meant. Are you worried? Not worried, or just like, all right, that's fine. Just like
Not
a
worried, and
rest
that's
bus or
gonna be my
359.
that's gonna be the theme of my answers. Is not worried. I can see where this segment is going. Go ahead though.
Okay, number two. What are your thoughts on Nick Willis breaking 4 once again for the 20th year in a row?
Oh, oh, I mean it's crazy. Like Hobbs Kessler's not even 20 years old. Willis's streak of breaking sub 4 is older than his training partner. Um, it's just it's just an incredible show of longevity. Say he doesn't know what he's gonna do next. So I don't know if I think every year he should just give it a shot at Millrose. I think that should be an ongoing segment that Millrose does. And even if he's like way off and running 4:15 when he's like 45, I still want to see it. So sign me up. Sign me up.
We should just be like, hey man, just update the streak to like consecutive 4 sub 405s or sub 410s or sub 420s. Just
Yeah,
like
whatever the
make it
number
like,
is.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, sub 5 minutes. Hell, he should be going up there and be like age 60 and be like breaking 5 once again. That's
Mhm.
what he should do. Yeah, no, I mean,
Well,
it shows that like I mean, it's a cool thing to do, right? Because he has like that carrot of like, wow, 20 straight years. But it's still hard to like train to like break 4 minutes in a mile. Like, yes, he's been to the 350 zones and he's been at
oh
the highest
yeah,
of highs, making world championship finals and medaling. But like,
yeah,
it's still like to get up and train to run 359, it's work.
yeah,
And it's not his full time job anymore, right? He's doing the whole tracksmith stuff. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's, there's got to be a point where like, hey man, I just kind of want to sit on the couch and do nothing. But one day he's gonna get to that point.
Now,
I don't know when it is.
now is not the point. People in the chat brought up that Hobbs was pacing Willis. So if that's the
Oh,
case, then and he a great run and did him a great solid.
maybe he was. He just like sacrificed himself. Look, Hobbs Kessler already sacrificing his
I know he's the young
his
guy. He's
opportunities
a young guy
for
sacrificing
the.
himself for the older guy. Yeah, good guy.
What
Good
yeah, I mean, where do you think this streak ranks in like track and field legacy marks
strengths.
like in the world? Like, which is what is this a big deal? Is this
Yeah,
Is this Cal
yeah.
Ripken Jr. esque? Is this
Well, I
Wilt Chamberlain 100 points? What are we seeing here?
uh, it's exactly Wilt Chamberlain 100 points. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, I mean, sub 4 in and of itself in a world where people are running 350s all the time. The world record is well under 350. In and of itself is not noteworthy. Like someone runs sub 4 now. It's not stop the presses they ran sub 4. But
Yeah,
it does indicate that you're at a really high level. When you do it in races like Millrose, where people ran 405, 403, 403, 401. So a 359 gets you ninth in a really good field of 13 people. It's saying you're still at an elite level. So being at an elite level for 20 years is important. I mean, it's not. We've talked about this before. It's not equivalent in any way, shape, or form to sub 10 in the men's 100, right? Or find whatever you can find a number, but it's not going to be the number that you think it is. It's going to be something in an event that a lot of people do every single year because a lot of people break 4 every single year. But just to be able to do it and to be injury free and not have any issues over the course of 20 years and be at that elite level for that long. Because it's not as if he's just been squeaking by with like 359 nines and not being a factor. He's been relevant in a lot of races throughout his entire career, even in the back half of the career. Like he still gets mentions. He was still winning Wanamaker miles, or sorry, he was still in the mix for Wanamaker miles for up until a couple years ago. So yeah, to me it just confers. All right, you're still able to mix it up in elite fields.
yeah. I think it's I think it's a record that's not going to be broken. I don't think there's someone out there
Who's second?
who's going to
Who's
want
second right now? Do we
who's going to
know?
want
Do
to.
we know who's second?
I don't know, but like I just don't think there's someone out there who wants to do it 20 years in a row. Like
Oh, yeah. You gotta wanna do it too.
And
Um,
yeah, I want to do it. It takes a unique individual to like. I want to like
yeah.
because you got to have that carrot to keep you going, right? And thing
Yeah.
that Willis had was even though the last few years he hasn't been like trying to get a medal. I mean, 2016 he was running well. You could.
Yeah, exactly.
When did he? When was his last year of relevancy? Like at the world? I guess 17.
I'd have to look
He
it
was probably
up, but
still
I
good
mean,
17. I don't know.
he goes to Millrose every year and he's there.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Or he runs
yeah.
like any number of these. That's what I'm saying. If you can run around that time, or a couple seconds faster, maybe not 3:59, but if you can run 3:55, you can win races at mid distances every now and then against really good people. So, all right, before
They
we go
should
though, I'm gonna
rename
do
this. They should rename this
the
the
Nick
Nick
Willis.
Willis the Nick Willis Wanamaker Mile. The Willow Maker
Yeah.
Mile. Willis Maker Mile.
Um.
I had two more
The shot put.
questions.
Shot
Okay.
put.
Well,
Yeah. Hurry up though. We're
before we
running
talk
out of
about
time.
shot put, I know it's fine, but I just got to ask it. Okay,
You're gonna
should
ask
we
me if
be
I'm worried
worried
about
about
Murphy or Engels. No,
or
and no,
angles? No.
no,
Okay, they just turned
no.
it off. They just said we're
They just
done.
haven't
They
turned it
pulled in the
on
thing
yet.
mode, but they fin they pulled in
No,
the
it's
thing
just
mode, but they just like instead of DNFing, they finished.
no. They just. I mean, what did Engels was right there. He was in fourth with 300 meters to go. It looks like,
Yeah,
and then fell apart, and then went backwards and moved back 6 spaces, and started running 16-second 100-meter segments where everybody else was running 14s and 13s. So, yeah, that wasn't good. Murphy, I mean, he was towards the back of the pack for the entire time, but I mean, we think of him as an 800-meter runner. So, no, 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 not worried about either of them. It's the end
got
of
it.
January. It's fine.
Just trying to get you on
Now,
record. That's all. Just need you on record.
not worried. Are you worried?
Mm, maybe. Might
I'm
be
definitely
worried.
not worried about Murphy. I'm not worried about him in the
I want to
100
see
mile.
one
Not worried
more
about that.
race. If I get back to back these, then I might get worried. If I have two, you're allowed one. Everyone's allowed one.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to worry about. Look at the back half. I mean, I don't know. Just in general, like it's the same thing with Hobbs Kessler, regardless of what he was
Yeah,
doing. I don't know. Like I'm not gonna say I'm not going to make a prediction based on the year with one race from Millrose, where you step into the lion's den in this race because you have someone like Oliver Hoare who's ready to roll and run 350, and that's tough. So
yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
okay,
All right.
that's it. That was all.
Ryan
Shot
Krauser.
put the
That's what we want to talk
lasers.
about.
What'd you
Let's do it.
think? What'd you think?
Well, can you kind of explain what happened?
You didn't pay attention,
No, man. I mean,
or the
I was doing all
or
that
the
stuff. You know,
okay. So second
explain
throw, they say it's
for our
twenty three
viewers.
thirty eight. Yeah. Second throw, they say it's 23:38, which would have smashed his indoor record and beat his outdoor record by a centimeter. It was weird though because the celebration wasn't that big and it didn't even look that far because I saw the replay. I was like, wait a minute, isn't like that didn't look like it was his farthest throw ever. But I was like, all right, I must have seen it wrong. It's not as if I've memorized every single shot put throw in history. Get to the end of the competition, he goes to the media area and he posted a thing on Instagram too and says the laser was placed wrong, so his mark and all the other marks were invalidated. They found that throw later. They were able to find the mark and it was 2250, but it didn't count because you have to measure it like at the moment. So everything was wiped out. So for initially, Krauser said they thought the reader board was off and it was just showing 23:38, but it was a shorter throw because he said he knew as soon as it left his hands it wasn't a world record throw. But then they found out, no, 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 it was the placement of the laser was off that was recording the marks. So everything was off. So you look at the results and it just says canceled on the shot put. So big time bummer for him. Big time bummer for me, who said that he would break the world record on his first throw. I was feeling really good about him doing it on a second throw, and I was just ready to come in hot to the pod. But mid 22s is still really good for an opener. he's also doing, like he mentioned in the post race, he's doing like a scaled back approach too. So like if he would have broken the world record, overall world record, throwing like that, like he would have thrown 23 or 24 meters by the end of the season because he was basically doing a scaled down version of how he normally throws. And it got him to mid 22s, but to get that extra meter or half a meter to get into 23s, he needs to turn it up a little bit more. And he didn't do that. So he knew it was short, but it's just a bummer that none of the marks count at all.
All right.
That's all.
Think any
We can go
foul
now.
play? Do you think any foul play was involved with the location of the laser? You think there was
Well,
a
that's why
fellow
you got to.
shot putter who was like, "Nah, I don't want Krauser getting his glory today. We're messing with this laser."
That's that's why you got to listen to my interview with the laser on This Week in Track because we get into that.
Okay.
No, here's the thing though, and I brought this up
Like, how does
is
this happen?
this could have been, yeah, just the calibration's off. I mean, we had this situation at Texas Tech, right? But that was just totally different. Someone just yelled out 13 or 14 instead of 13. But here's where it could have really gone wrong because Krauser's basically say, "Hey, I threw 2250, but that mark doesn't count. None of it counts because it was measured like too late." So there's a world in which he threw the world record, actually threw the world record, but it was mismeasured and they realized the laser was off. And then they only find out later once they get the measuring tape out. And then that would not have counted, which would have been a much worse scenario to be in. Or imagine it's measuring short. And then afterwards, they're like, wait a minute, that felt like 2340. And then they go out there and they measure it and like, whoops, yeah, everything was a meter short this entire competition. Sorry. So it's embarrassing and unfortunate, but it could have been a lot worse if it took away like a fully valid world record, or if this was a trials type scenario where you had uh, championship berths on the line.
Yeah. Uh, it sucks. But I mean, I think Kraus is kind of like, whatever. I'm gonna just break the world record tomorrow. Like
Well,
he literally
yeah,
can. He probably breaks the world record like every third practice. We just don't even know about it.
yeah, exactly. All right, we'll leave it there. We'll talk a lot of college stuff on Wednesday, update the rankings and any other results that slip through the crack. We'll get to that on Wednesday's thanks to Alon for producing. Thanks to Hoka for sponsoring the pod. Again, go to Hoka.com today. Hoka faster forward. For my co-host Gordon Mack, I'm Kevin Sully. Thanks everybody for subscribing and listening to the FloTrack podcast. We'll see you next time.